I'm really quite excited to be joining you here today because I'm absolutely passionate about NLP and I'm passionate about creating change. And I really believe that NLP is a great way to facilitate change. Okay, we've got a little bit of theory here, the definition of NLP. I won't labour on this too much, but it's important to understand that NLP is about the mind and it's about your internal processes. And the definition that I love the most is that it's about how we use our language of the mind to consistently achieve our specific and desired outcomes. But I'm going to go straight into an exercise now to give you a little bit of a taste of how awesome NLP is. My clients love this, and it's a good way to get into a learning state. It's also a good way to be in a state where there is no problem. So I want everyone to just sit quietly with their hands on their laps, and I want you to focus on an area just above eye level. Sometimes the crease between the ceiling and the wall is a good place to be. And I want you to just focus on a spot. I just want you to focus, just gently focus on that spot. And as you focus on that spot, I want you to start to become a little bit aware of the area around that spot while still focusing on that spot. So just a metre around the spot. Continue to focus on that spot and expand your awareness outside that spot. So you're suddenly aware of things that are beside you and above you while still focusing on that one spot. Continue to focus on the spot, and then you might find that you become aware of things behind you. You're now aware of everything in the room. This is called expanded awareness. When you're in this state, it's impossible to feel a problem. It's also a wonderful state to get into as a presenter because then you feel you're able to connect with the entire room. So in support of this being state, I want to just take you through the NLP Model of Communication. So basically what it says is we have a whole bunch of external events that come to us, and it's over 1 billion bits per second. So that's a whole bunch of stuff. So our mind has to protect us in a way and keep us safe. So what it does, it divides the 1 billion bits of information up into bite-sized chunks. And these chunks are things that we can handle. So at the moment, you might not be aware of how your clothes feel on your body, or your feet feel on the floor, or that building out there with the light on, or a noise that's out there. But that's okay. That's your mind looking after you. It's simply filtering out the information that's not important to you right now so you can take in the information that is important. In further support of our unconscious mind, 55% of what we say is our body language, 38% is tonality, and only 7% is what we say. Can you believe that? So why, when we put together a presentation, do we spend so much time on our content? And in the context of giving an outstanding presentation and getting a point across in the best way, think about who you need to be, what you need to do to serve the room, rather than what you need to do or what you need to say. Which actually brings me to another point, which is the third one up from the bottom. I'm not going in any order, by the way. I hope you're okay with that. I call it yes with an exclamation mark, but it's what in NLP terms we call the agreement frame. Now, getting agreement, and it could be anything from, does everyone have everything they need to eat for breakfast? Yes. It could be, do you have a glass of water? Did you find the place okay? It doesn't matter what you say as long as you get people to say yes. If you get someone to say yes, if you get your crowd, your audience, your person, whoever you're with, if you get them to say yes at least 3 times before you start, you are guaranteed for success. When you are presenting, you always aim to do what we call a KAV opening. So kinesthetic, auditory, and then visual opening. So always start with some kinesthetic words like, thank you for having me. I feel grateful to be here. I'm looking forward to keeping in touch with you. Use things like that. Always start with K because that brings the kinesthetic people in, and then say something auditory like, I'm going to be speaking to you about this, or I hear that you like this, and then say something visual. And then once you've used a visual word, an auditory word, and a kinesthetic word, you then go into a bit of data, because I mean that's what a presentation is about, it's a bit of data, using plenty of visual, auditory, and kinesthetic words along the way. That way you won't lose anyone. You won't lose the kinesthetic people by going straight to PowerPoint and using I see words, and then you won't lose the visual people by talking all about feelings. So a good way to mix it up. So we call that the KAV opening. So it's important to understand what different people's learning styles are. And in the context of giving a presentation to 200 or 200 people, you're not going to know that. You're not going to look around the room and assess everyone. And even if you do, they're all going to be different. So the importance of giving a presentation to all those people is to understand that everyone's learning style is different and cater for all learning styles. And I think we've already discussed that. So have a few pictures. So Bryn, people expect a PowerPoint, give them a PowerPoint, give them something to look at. It also encourages them to look up. So when I'm giving a workshop, I often like people to look up because we can get stuck looking down. I know we've all got some handouts, so it can be very easy to look down. And when you're looking down, you're accessing your feeling and your auditory digital, which takes away your visual and auditory modes. So when giving a presentation, make sure that people have a chance to look up as well as look down. That way they're accessing all their senses. Another thing I wanted to talk about was I wanted to go back up to the top again and talk about your mindset. Now, we talked a little bit about the experience and the importance of being. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're communicating with one person or 100. It's who you need to be in that moment that's important. And in NLP, we call it the servant's heart. And we actually even do this when we think about it. And that's, who do I need to be to serve the room? Who do I need to be to give you what you need in order to walk out of here today having learnt something new? It's not about what information do I have to give you. And I know I've given you a bit of information. And as Bryn said, I actually did focus on what can I give you that's going to have the maximum impact that won't distract you from the overall experience. Of course, that's important. So that's really good. But it's more about who do I need to be? And we often tell our clients, be the rock star. Expect to be treated like a rock star, and you will be treated like a rock star. Expect a critical crowd, a crowd of people that are going to criticise you and be mean, and you will get that.
Sometimes you have to present bad news.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you use those techniques for presenting bad news? Because if you go in all bubbly and cheerful when you're presenting bad news, that might set the wrong tone.
And yeah, you're absolutely right. So always come back to that be. So in that case, you wouldn't walk in thinking, right, I'm going to be the rock star. You might be downloading a totally different archetype. In NLP, we talk a lot about the different archetypes we need to be at any one time. And to be a true master of your craft, you can be any archetype you want at any time. And that may change in an instant. So 1 minute you might need to be the rock star to inspire the troops. The next meeting you might have to be the teacher, the professor, perhaps even the magician. Just more clever, more smart, more caring, more compassionate. Another archetype is the mother or the nurturer. So maybe that's what I need to be. So it's who do you need to be in that instant to get the most resourceful response? And it is about having that servant's heart. How do I serve the room? Not how do I be awesome? How do I look great? How do I say something clever? It's how do I serve the room? Because you're here to listen, you're here to learn, you're here to have an experience. So how do I give that to you? Okay, the first one is the placator. You do this when you want people to come with you on a journey. And I want you to feel the energy that gives you. It's a very vulnerable position because you're opening yourself up to come with me, please be with me. It's a little bit of a pleading posture as well, and we call that the placator. And now go to the leveler. Notice the energy change? This is when you want to make sure that people understand that what you're saying is quite serious. When you do this, it gives credibility to what you're saying. And you may have been asking people to come along the way and then really saying it's important. So that's the leveler. The next one is what we call the bully. Now, the bully is when you want to make a serious point. They often say it's like finger pointing, but you would never point a finger in a presentation. So you do this. You see a lot of senior leaders doing this when they want to say something quite serious. And it's often just fingers together like this. The fourth one is what we call the distractor. Now, this is when you do something asymmetrical, and often it's used after the bully. So when you make a point and you want to be serious, but you just want to distract, use a bit of humour so that people aren't too caught up with the bully. So this is all about distracting. We also call it the joker, and it's often used when you want to say something funny as well. And the fifth one is called the thinker. This is a really good one to go to when you may have forgotten what you were going to say next. So when you think about it, it's quite a useful tool. It also disassociates a little bit and gives the room a little bit of space to maybe do their own thinking. So it's a good way to encourage others to think, oh, I'm thinking, what am I thinking? Where is this taking me? So another good one. Another one I also like to use, which is not one of Virginia Satir's, it's one I've kind of invented and started using, so feel free to use it, is what I call the unity. And this is when I just put my fingers together. Now, the reason why I like doing this is because the rest of the time you should be standing with your hands by your side so you're not distracting. Just hands gently by your side and your feet slightly apart. But often we do like to put our hands in front of us. We can't help it. Men often are here, women are up here. So men protect down here, women protect their hearts. That's what we do. And it's not anything overly defensive. However, in the context of what we're talking about today, remember we're talking to the unconscious mind. So I might not look at someone crossing their arms and think, oh, they're defensive, but my unconscious mind is processing a lot of stuff. So when you want to get through to someone's unconscious mind, think about it from that perspective. So unity is all about love and harmony. So if you want to put your hands together, just do this, because this inspires that we're all in this together, and this is a unity type pose. And it also is quite a comfortable place to stand as well if you're not comfortable with standing like this, which can feel quite open. So the first thing I talked about was the experience. So we're not just here for information, we're here for experience. The second one, being is more important than anything else, than doing or having. The third one is the non-verbal aspect. So much of our communication is non-verbal. We take in information differently. And the last one is, if all this is true, it means that we need to appeal to the unconscious mind. So really use this and really use it well, and it really will make a big difference. Now, there is homework to do. I don't know whether Dave told you, but you're all expected to do some homework. Next steps. So a good presenter will give you some fantastic information. An outstanding presenter will inspire you to take action. So I really want you to take action. I really, really do. I want you to pick one of these things. It could be concentrating on who you need to be. And this isn't about giving a presentation either. This could be the next meeting you have when you walk out of here. It could be the way you communicate with your child when you get home. It could be speaking to your team. But think about who you need to be in that moment. And or you may want to think about how you're going to manage your state. Who do you need to be? Are you going to be the rock star? Do you need to be the nurturer? Do you need to be a magician? And have that servant's heart. Practice a few new moves. Practice standing without moving too much. And see how it feels. It feels weird at first, and I know definitely when I was taught it as part of my trainer's training, for the first 3 days of presentations, you're actually not allowed to move at all. They don't let you move your hands, you actually have to stay like this. Then on the 4th day they say, right, you can start using the moves now, and no one can. You just stand there going, can't do anything. But practice and be comfortable with it, because it's really a good thing not to be distracting and to really get your point across. If you've got some important things to say and you want to give people an experience, really use that. Use the agreement frame, practice it. Practice it all the time with people you work with, when you do a presentation, same thing. Especially when you're presenting to a lot of people, get everyone in that room to agree, get them to say yes, and then see how the rest of your presentation goes. And also practice finding someone's learning style. I love this. So practice finding out whether somebody's visual, auditory or kinesthetic. Look at where their eyes go, listen to their language, and then practice playing that language back to them. So if somebody is saying a lot of I see and I picture, practice actually using visual words back to them. And then also, just for a bit of fun, practice playing other words back to them as well and see how they change. And finally, probably the most important thing about everything in NLP, I'm passionate about NLP, and I believe that once you know something about NLP, you should teach it to somebody else. And once you teach it to somebody else, you will know it forever. So pick something that you love, pick a number of things, practice them, and then teach them. And you'll never ever forget them.